Hi, folks. This is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Institute for Dialectical Metarealism. First, on another topic, somebody recently asked me, what does it say on the T-shirt? It says the original founding fathers, and then in the middle, there is a picture of a number of Native Americans. I found it at a fair one time in Olathe, Kansas, and I said, I need to get that T-shirt, and I did. This episode of the podcast is really a continuation of my previous one on the guardianship. I wanted to add a few additional thoughts to it. First, I don't think that the Guardian predicted a continuation of the effects of the guardianship. The Guardian predicted a continuation of the guardianship when he said divorce from the institution of the guardianship and so forth. So the guardianship is what he predicted, not its effects. So since the Guardian had no children, and since he had no members of his family, no aksan, which means branches, who were eligible to become successors to himself, Shoghi Effendi has remained the guardian of the cause of God. That's how I see it. Now, could I be wrong? Of course. Of course, I could be wrong. But that is my understanding. And I think what it does is that it is a way of dealing with, in an intelligible way, some of the objections made by enemies of the Baha'i faith who call us, meaning call the members of the Baha'i faith, the guardianless Baha'is. In fact, in my view, we are not the guardianless Baha'is. We are the Baha'is with the guardian, with Shoghi Effendi. The fact that he has passed on and is now in the next world is not important. I wish I were there too. I wish I were there with him, and I look forward to the time when I pass on and am able to meet with him, other people, my family members. I have made death a messenger of joy unto thee. Wherefore dost thou grieve, as Baha'u'llah said. So to me, I'm looking forward to that messenger of joy arriving at my bedside. In any event, the idea of the continuation of the guardianship can, I think, be compared to what happened in Shia Islam. There are two occultations, and I will only use the English language terms for it. There was the greater occultation and the lesser occultation. But let's focus primarily on the greater occultation. When the 12th Imam died, that was the beginning of the greater occultation between himself and the coming of the Mahdi, of the Khayyam, the Bab. And at that time, the beginning of the greater occultation, again, the 12th Imam did die. The standard teaching in Shia Islam is that he is somewhere in hiding. Well, that is not, to my understanding, the Baha'i view. He's not in hiding. He died. I guess you could see that as hiding, but he's hiding in the next world. And so he's not hiding somewhere on the face of the earth in a cave or something like that. He is actually in the next world. But I think in a way, we can perhaps, by analogy, compare that to the present condition of the guardianship. Now, the term occultation is never used for the guardianship, but I think we can use it by analogy. So in a sense, and I'm not being literal here, the guardian, Shoghi Effendi, is in a kind of occultation, meaning he is in the next world. But he is still the guardian. The guardianship continues through him. The guardianship does not depend upon a guardian being on the face of the earth. I think that mistake has been made by some people, not everyone, but to my understanding, looking at it in this way enables us to have an answer to the objections raised by some people, again, that we are the guardianless Baha'is, when in fact, precisely the opposite is true. No, we are not the guardianless Baha'is. We are the Baha'is with the guardian. So an attachment to this world, seeing an importance in the guardian living in this world, in the material or physical world, is, I think, maybe this is an exaggeration, but a type of materialism. Who cares where the guardian is? Does it matter whether he is here, whether he is among us, whether he is in the physical world, or whether he is in the world to come? In my opinion, no, because he is still the guardian. He is still the head of the Universal House of Justice as the guardian. He did not stop being the guardian when he died. And so he could confidently say that, divorced from the institution of the guardianship and so on and so forth, the Baha'i faith continues to have a guardian. And that guardian is living. He's not living in this world, but he's living in the world to come. So, again, to recap what I said, I think it is important to consider that the guardian and the guardianship are eternal. The guardianship is not limited and never has been limited, as I see it, to this world. Even we are not limited to this world. When we die, we will pass on and go on into the next. Now, as far as I know, I will not be occulted. I don't think I'll be occulted. But in a sense, the guardianship itself is occulted because the guardian is not visible physically. So there is a type of occultation, similar to what happened to the 12th Imam. And I think that is a good parallel that can be used, drawing upon that Shia concept of occultation and applying it to the Baha'i concept of the guardianship. And in that way, for me personally, it has allowed me to draw closer to Shulki Effendi. Not to say I wasn't closer to him before or close to him before, but even closer, knowing that he is still the guardian of the Baha'i faith and that the guardianship exists with him. The guardianship would not exist without him. He is an immortal soul. And the fact that the guardian remains right now in the next world and is therefore occulted from us in this world is irrelevant in my view. He is still the guardian. And to me, that is what counts. And so to me, as I see it, we need to focus on the institution and not the location of that institution. For example, Baha'u'llah has the status of a manifestation of God, the supreme manifestation of God. His son, Abdul-Baha, has the station of servitude, the mystery of God, the interpreter of the Baha'i texts. He is in the next world as well. And yet, we can still relate to him in this world. When I turn to Abdul-Baha, I am not turning to Abdul-Baha's effects. I am not turning to his writings. I am turning to Abdul-Baha. I can certainly read what he wrote, but in praying to Abdul-Baha, I am not praying to his writings, to his tablets. I am praying to a real being, a perfect man made perfect by his father Baha'u'llah, a man who showed genuine obedience to the covenants of God and was given, as I see it, perfection as a result of his obedience to the covenant of Baha'u'llah. And so he remains the center of the covenant, even though he is in the next world. Likewise, Shulgi Effendi, the guardian of the cause of God, remains the guardian even though he is in the next world. I hope that presents an additional clarification to the points I made in the previous podcast. For the time being, this has been Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Institute for Dialectical Meta-Realism. Have a pleasant day and an even better day tomorrow.